Such throw-ins of the Russian propaganda always work the same way. Different media come up with a resonant news break. Russian state officials make loud statements. Audience does not analyze, but take them on face. In the video, which Kremlin propaganda cites as evidence, a group of Russian occupation troops surrenders to the armed forces of Ukraine. However, the last of the detachment of Russians grabs a weapon and opens fire to kill during the surrender process. This fact is completely ignored by the Russian media, although such an act is classified as military treachery, a war crime under the Geneva Convention. By his actions, Russian soldier in fact ceased to be a prisoner and deprived his colleagues of this status too. From the separate pieces of the video among the incident, it can be concluded that by staging a surrender, the Russian servicemen committed a war crime, namely opened fire on the Ukrainian armed forces. In this case, persons from among Russian military personnel cannot be considered prisoners of war, but are those who are fighting and committing treason. Returning fire is not a war crime. On the contrary, those who want to use the protection of international law for murder must be punished. Dmytro Lubinets, Commissioner for Human Rights of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, on Facebook. The more war crimes the Russian army commits, the worse the state of affairs on the front line for Russia is. The louder its propaganda screams about the cruelty of the Ukrainian defenders. This is a smokescreen designed to cover the loss of Kherson by the occupiers and the appearance on the network of a video of the brutal execution of their former comrade by the Wagnerite mercenaries of Russia. According to experts, the fake news about the execution of prisoners is addressed to recruits and mobilized. The task of this video and the video with the sledgehammer execution is the same: to intimidate their own citizens and reduce the possibility, the desire to surrender, among the Russian military, primarily among the mobilized. From the point of view of Russian propaganda, it should show that all our efforts aimed at saving the lives of Russian citizens who surrender themselves are not worth the efforts we invest in projects to prove the rules of surrender in combat. The Kremlin recalls the existence of the rules of war only when it needs to blame Ukraine for something. Since 2014, the Russian army has committed numerous war crimes on Ukrainian territory. It was then that the humanitarian corridor near Ilovaisk was treacherously bombarded. The Ilovaisk tragedy is forever in the memory of Ukrainian people. The grossest violation of the Geneva Conventions by Russia is the fact that for almost 9 months since the start of the full-scale war, international humanitarian organizations have not been allowed into the places of detention of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Those who have been exchanged speak of appalling conditions and torture.
They tortured us. We were beaten. They are non-humans, just bad people. They beat women, and most of all, our women were beaten by theirs. Every morning and evening, we were taken out of the cell to be counted and then beaten.
Ukraine cooperates with international organizations and regularly allows their representatives to visit Russian prisoners of war. This is confirmed in the reports by the Red Cross, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and other organizations. Reported by Pavlo Shtelmach, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.